It is the Safe House Podcast with a whole different look, a whole different feel. And for whatever reason, I'm sounding like I'm back on the radio.
The Quiet Store.
Yeah. Wait,
Magic
wait.
98.9.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to enter into It's your bad Pastor Ferguson, my brother Mitchell, Harper Mitchell. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, it's been a weird 24 hours, but I'm glad to be with y'all. This is always a blessing. So,
Man, as always, the Safe House Podcast is on with you 6:30s on Wednesdays, and this week is the beginning of a series of episodes where we'll be entering into sticking around and exiting the Advent season. It is not Advent yet, but I figure why wait until we get to the time to really start to unpack what it means to us, especially when it comes to what's happening in our world right now. So if you're online with us, as always, share, because that's the way that we can get the word out to as many people as possible. And of course, if you are online, definitely communicate with us because we always check the chat. And, let us know that you're about something. Let us know that you actually care about what we got to say because it is so important. Did something happen? Oh, no. Always when stuff is getting started.
Gore letting us down again.
Hey, at least it's in the beginning.
Thank God. Because, when it works, and we're good. All right. See,
Just takes a little bit of patience.
little patience, little whatever, it's all good. So, and here at Clare United Methodist Church, we always meet on Sundays at 10 a.m. for worship. Mitchell, if you could open us up in prayer, and then we're going to get into this for tonight.
Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the gift of community. Thank you for the gift of grace. And thank you for the gift of just being enough, Lord, as we talk about just being enough.
Appreciate it. One of the main things that came to mind for me as we kind of enter into this season is just how do we make everything that we do practical?
Yeah.
A lot of times it doesn't make a difference if it's a podcast, if it's Bible study, whatever it is. Ministry has to be practical. It has to be something that you can pick up and move with. And if I'm honest, it's one of the most difficult things about being a leader in the church, being a pastor, being a church kid, the whole nine,
Yeah.
is making things relevant where people can hold it, where they can fix it, where they can have that thing in them. And whenever we enter into a season like Christmas time, I think the hardest part is when we realize that sometimes it feels like nothing might be good enough around that holiday. And I don't understand how we got to the place where we created such a mentality around the birth of Christ to create the idea that there has to be more to it. And then furthermore, it has to be about us. And then when I see how the world is acting right now, especially in this country, it makes me quite annoyed. And I'm being balanced.
Absolutely.
Quite annoyed by the fact that we do not function in a way where we are either content or have the desire for all people to have enough.
Mm.
We live in an extremist society. I've always said, I don't care what another person does. If you're able to earn it and get it, go get it. Do whatever you got to do. Get every penny, every dollar that you can get. I encourage my son. Like, the one thing I don't want, let me tell you something, I don't want CJ to follow in my footsteps. I've said that openly a million times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to follow in my footsteps. I want him to be able to do anything and everything he is big and bad enough to do and be a greater success than his father. But at the same time, my job as a father is to teach him. No matter how successful you become, never forget not only where you come from, but never forget that there may be those that the opportunities may not have come the same way, and that we have some level of responsibility in sharing and caring with one another. We do have a significant responsibility in establishing the idea that there is the gift of enough. I think that sometimes we take having more than enough beyond what that means or what that represents.
I think, wasn't it John Wesley who said, earn all you can and then save all you can, but then also give all you can.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with the ability to, raise your financial worth, in someone else's eyes, but then you also have to figure out what you're going to do with it once you have it.
I mean,
how you're going to use it responsibly.
So consider for a minute, and this is my social commentary of the moment, and y'all just pray for me because I'm going to try to be as, I'm going to act like I got an education for a second.
I like it.
I'm going to act like it. Everything that has happened over the last 40 plus days in this country is sign and signal of what it means when enough is not enough.
Mm.
I place a lot of blame on the mentality that people have allowed others to carry into spaces where they're supposed to lead.
Mm.
I question the hearts of people that say that they have been sent to represent people, and yet they cut deals that will ultimately cut people. I don't question the heart of a leader who would rather starve the populace
Mm-hmm.
than make sure that needs are met, which, technically speaking, if people are not working and getting a living wage, they would ultimately have to be supported by something even when they are working.
Mm-hmm.
There is such a thing. Thank you. There is such a thing as the working poor.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that again. There is such a thing as the working poor. Minimum wage in this country is still $7.25. $7.25 doesn't buy anything worthwhile.
Hasn't for a while either.
I remember when I was in high school, when I first started driving, and I was on the football team, and I drove a Honda Civic,
Good man.
right? I drove a Honda Civic, and all the guys didn't want to walk to the field, so I was what now today would be called an Uber driver, because I said, if you want to ride with me, it's not like walking from East to Harley Field is really that long. It's not. But they didn't want to walk. So I said, you need to give me gas money. And they sure enough gave me gas money. Now, back then, that gas money turned into date money. Back when I could pull off spending $20-25 on a date and it'd be perfect. That $20-25 date back when I was 18 years old is probably closer to about $75-80. So what makes anybody think that in 2025 somebody can live off of $7.25 an hour?
And how many offensive linemen could you fit in your Honda Civic at one time?
Well, I only had one other lineman in my car. Everybody else was a receiver or a back.
All right.
And I found a way that it was 6 of us in that joker. Oh, I got paid now. Listen. They knew what the drill was. It's not,
maximizing profits.
that's right. And then the one person that wanted to complain about it and the way that he would have to ride, I said, first of all, you a freshman. And then second of all, get out of my car.
Hey, you can pop that trunk if you want to.
Right. Like, no, you go ahead and walk. You get out of my car. You don't dictate nothing. Now, this is my ride. And guess what? Nobody else in here was mad at the fact that you would have had to ride this way. You the only one. Get out. But back to what I'm talking about. $7.25 is minimum wage. People have demonized folk that are working 40 hours a week and they're not getting a living wage, and demonizing them for using benefits that have existed for quite some time. And if we're honest about it, the roots of some of these benefits did not start with the government. They started with other organizations. Free lunch programs did not begin with a government move. It began with the Black Panthers. Read your history. But now, because of a power grab, you would rather over 40 million people starve than make sure they eat. That's evil. That's not political. That is downright evil. When you do not want people, and this is what makes it sound even more ridiculous, right? When you are an environment, an economy that wants people to consume, but you don't want to do the things to produce jobs, raise wages, or anything else for people to consume, and then all that kind of stuff, but you would rather fire people and everything to maintain profits only for those that are on the higher end, that has nothing to do now with being a part of a consumer-based economy as an oligarchy.
Well, they would call it neoliberalism.
Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah.
When people say, I want to open the government, but at the risk of other things. Let me tell you something. We're living in a society that has all of its stuff out of whack.
How do you keep a job if you don't show up to do the daggone job?
And
Like,
then,
I got to go to work every day.
and then you ask somebody to show up to their job and you say, well, you ain't getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
In Europe, they just fired the whole group.
Yeah.
We're going to turn this whole thing over.
Yeah, everybody got to go.
Yep.
And so because people got caught up in the smoke screens, they believed in what people were saying. Folk are suffering needlessly because other folk don't want to share. Now, the text that is posted is one verse, but y'all know me better than that. It's not all out of that one verse. You got to read the whole story. And this is the parable, watch this, of the rich fool. Luke 12, beginning at verse 13. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Ain't that interesting? Someone in the crowd while Jesus teaches, "Teacher, tell my brother to share his inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Man, who divide the inheritance? Wait, man, who made me a judge or arbiter over you?"
That ain't my job.
And he said to them, "Take care and be on guard against all covetousness. For one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." And he told them a parable, saying, "The land of a rich man produced plentifully. And he thought to himself, what shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones. And there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry." Verse 20. But God said to him, "Fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God." Nobody, including Jesus, ever said anything about having stuff. But what he did say was, you better be careful about where you are placing or relaxing your heart. The man said, I'm going to tear down the barns because I don't have enough room. I'm going to build bigger barns. And because I built the bigger barns, guess what? I'll have plenty, watch this, for years to come.
He was so close. If he had just said, I'm going to tear down my barns and just stop there so that other people could have access to his abundance, that would have been fine. But instead, he said, I'm going to tear down my barns
Yep.
purely so that I can build bigger barns.
To store up I'm going to tear down what has existed and build up something else to store what I want, because I have assessed or concluded that all I have amassed will last for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have assessed this, I can go and chill. That's basically what it said. I can go eat, drink, and be merry. I can chill out. I don't have to care about anybody or anything else. I have done everything I can do for me, and I am cool right here. And what does God do? Your soul is required, watch this, tonight.
Yep.
Your soul is mine tonight. And guess what? Who's going to divide all this stuff when you gone?
Because you can't take it with you.
Oh, but here is where we have to deal with the idea of, is it really enough? The concept of enough. And I'm going through a personal struggle with this concept. Not in the way we're talking about it tonight, but in other ways.
Yeah.
But maybe it can be incorporated. Y'all pray with me. When is it enough? Whatever it is. When has somebody met your expectations? When has somebody finally reached the point where you're satisfied with their effort? When have you finally reached the point where you are settled with what somebody has given you? This is the struggle in a lot of places. Can I just and maybe this will be that thing where some stuff comes out tonight, okay?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
When was it enough for your parent, your loved one, your partner? When were the expectations ever truly met? When was it enough in the church? When were you finally satisfied with the effort of the pastor? When was the pastor ever satisfied with the effort of the leadership? When were the people finally satisfied with the effort of the whole meeting the needs of the community? When was the community finally all right with what the church was doing? You see what I mean? The concept of enough is so layered. And there are a lot of people that are suffering because it's just not ever enough. When was $1 billion not enough?
Mm-hmm.
But hear me out. Hear me out. I'm not hating on a billionaire. But when was $1 billion not enough? To the point where you will try and gain more on the backs of those that will never, ever see a fraction of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. You see what I mean? I will never begrudge somebody that has earned. But the problem becomes, did you do it at the expense of somebody else? The problem is not what somebody obtains. It is about what is truly controlling them.
By this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers. But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him?
Tell them the scripture in text.
1 John chapter 1. No, I'm sorry. 1 John chapter 3, verses 16 and 17.
That's Bible. Since a lot of people say, well, what the Bible, that's what the Bible say. People that get caught up in what the Bible says until.
Mm-hmm.
I may not be rich, but God, if I'm able, don't let me hold my hands closed.
Was it King who talked about the three evils being militarism, racism, and materialism?
I believe so.
And that materialism is oftentimes the one that leads to the other two.
Yeah.
That desire to just, I have to have as much as I can absolutely acquire, not to be then gracious with it, but to be, I don't even know the word, just selfish with it.
Consider we have somebody in a political office that didn't need to be the quote unquote leader of the free world. Didn't need it. So why go after it? Right? Why go after it? First time because they said he couldn't.
He couldn't. Yeah.
The next time it was because he wanted to catch all of his enemies. Not because he wanted to help the folk that put him in.
Right.
Listen to them. I'm not up here dogging somebody. He told you up front.
This is a revenge tour.
Yeah. He's acting like he acting like the Buckeyes did last season. Like we coming for everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
We coming for everybody and got on the tour and then won the title, right? Same mentality.
Michael Corleone at the end of Godfather 1.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wait, today we settle all the family business.
Yep.
That's what he said. He is not there. All people that voted for Donald Trump. He was not coming. He was not up for you.
Yeah.
He was not up for the masses. He told you up front he was about himself. He told you. This is not a political statement. These are facts. Look at everything he's ever said, right? And then, of course, somebody that will hear this would start talking about every other. They don't know me. I don't care about any politician because 9 times out of 10, most politicians are full of you know what.
Yep. 9.5 times out of 10.
Thank you. Right? The majority of them are full of it. Okay? People that are trying to open up the government again put their constituents on the burner to vote to open the government back up. The marginalized still have been what? Put to the side. That has no political affiliation. That is just straight up what has occurred.
Or will always be with you.
Bible that people quote. Poor you'll have with you always. So what are you supposed to do with that? Do you eliminate them or make sure that they either rise from that condition or make sure that their needs are met? Either way, we have a responsibility, but we're not in community. And the reason we're not in community is we're about consumerism and accumulation. And tangible things have controlled us more than the spirit. Look at that text one more time. The beginning of that text, a man is calling out to Jesus. Not teach us how to pray. He didn't
Tell my brother to pay me what he owe me.
That's what he's saying to Jesus. He didn't say, teach us about peace. Help me understand how to reason with my brother. He said, arbitrate this dispute over an inheritance.
Mhm.
Tell him to share with me.
We trying to get some money that we didn't earn ourselves.
Right.
I just need my come up real quick.
Can you just tell him to give me my cut? That's what he said.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said to Jesus. Tell him to give me my cut. And Jesus came back and said, I am not an arbitrator.
Yeah. He didn't say you're wrong to want that, but he's like, that's not my job.
That ain't what I'm here for. Let me tell you a story. I promise he's probably sounding like, let me tell you a story.
Jesus Mac.
That's right. That's right. Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story. First and foremost, I've been in a funk for about 2 weeks,
Yep.
man. If y'all let me run with the Bernie Mac thing, that's fine. Let me tell you a story about. Let me tell you about this. But this scripture is this parable came from a dispute about money. It about stuff.
Yep.
It was not about spiritual practices. Do you understand? I'm not here to talk about your tangible. I'm here to tell you how to live your life. And that's why the genius of Jesus as teacher, the genius of the teacher Jesus is, when you get to the end of the story,
Yeah.
it's basically this. Don't get caught up. Because no matter how much you gain, when it's time, it's time. The stuff don't last forever. Could it be that we have not placed enough emphasis on finding ways for the Spirit to teach us and help us understand how to really address the things in this world? And we have been misguided, and we have bought into the idea that tangible come up, that tangible everything is a sign of what God does.
Yeah. I mean, it's twofold, right? Because like you want to give credit to God
Yes.
when the good things happen,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
I bought this house.
Absolutely.
I bought these nice clothes.
Yes.
I bought this jet.
Right.
Sure. But if you blur that line between what God is doing for you and what you are doing for yourself by taking advantage of other people, then we are bastardizing the gospel to make you look holier than you actually are, because you're not actually meeting people in the needs that they have.
What does that scripture in Acts 2, I think it's around 42 through 47, talk about? I know I can turn to it, but
I got you.
yeah, because
You said 42?
yeah, as it's Acts 2, 42 through 47, I believe.
And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. And all came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. And all who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all as any had need. And day by day attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes They received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved.
So the movement in Acts, because I'm not going to call it church, it's a movement at that point.
Yeah.
So the movement said they attended to the teachings, they came together, and people sold stuff and turned around and gave those proceeds to those that had need to make sure that those in need did not want.
Mm-hmm.
And the movement grew.
Right.
They found favor in the community, not just among themselves, but within the community. And the movement grew every, watch this, day.
Mm-hmm.
Not every Sunday, every day.
Yeah.
Which means then being the church, being the people of God, is a 7-a-day-a-week pursuit. So then in everything that I do, I should be doing whatever it takes. I should be, if Sunday is when I learn, and I like using the word if Sunday is when I learn, then I got 6 days outside of Sunday to work what I've learned. What difference does it make if I heard what was said on Sunday and I don't know how to work it? What sense does it make for you to show up on Sunday, occupy a space on a bench? Shh. And listen to me. This is the real of it. This is where we are right now.
Absolutely.
Right now. And people, and you got once again, just forgive me. I was always told that by friends and others growing up, man, I can see you in this big place at ... You know, I got delivered from that so long ago. And the reason I got delivered from it was because it was the wrong view of what it means to be church. What does it matter if 10,000 people show up if those 10,000 people don't go back out and make an impact? Who cares?
That's numbers just for numbers' sake.
Right. I mean, I struggle at the idea of creating and multiplying without the ultimate goal being that multiplication is really about how we really multiply our efforts in the community. I want to be the kind of leader that sends folk out, and when they are sent out, folk will be like, good God, that is a child of God, not a member of Claire. This might get me all messed up, but this is the truth. Every church I've ever been in as a pastor, I did not go there that people would know the name of the church that I pastored, but they would know that the people there know who Jesus is.
Imagine that.
And wait, and how would they know who Jesus is? By the fruit that they bear. And how you going to bear fruit? You bear fruit by working what you got. But if you ain't working what you got, who's that on? Is it on the person that fed you? No. That's not on you. I don't know how to work it. Well, do you study? Do you go to Bible study? Do you come to the podcast? Do you go to any other opportunity to learn how to work it? You know, in the gym, they have this thing about personal training. When you get a personal trainer, it is because you are now making a considerate effort to meet a certain criteria and goal that you want to obtain when it comes to your health.
Yeah.
That's why you get a personal trainer, right? Before you get to that point, you got to just make up in your mind you want to go to the gym in the first place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Huh? You can eat healthy all day long, but you haven't done anything else. You haven't lifted, you haven't run, you haven't walked, you haven't done nothing. Now that you come to the gym, you at least know how to work the equipment, right? You're working the equipment, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You're working the equipment. You say, okay, I'm going to 30 minutes of cardio, do a little bit of lifting, all that stuff. You're at least working it.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, you move from basic work to say, now I need to what? Commit myself to something that's a little bit more.
Yeah.
That is, watch this, that is growth in discipleship.
That's right. If you're lifting the same thing you was lifting 8 months ago, what are you doing?
You're sculpting, but you're not.
Yeah.
You've plateaued.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to say, I don't want to just have a good looking physique. I want it to be functional.
Yeah, I want to actually get stronger.
Oh, and guess what? In order to get stronger, you got to actually what? Go up. Have you ever heard this? That when you lift weights and then you lift heavier weights, all this muscle definition and stuff like that, that the actual way that the definition begins to happen is that your muscles actually do rip.
Yeah, they tear apart. Yeah.
They tear. As you're doing stuff, your muscles tear, and then you recover, and they become
sexy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the truth. That's the truth. But that's the truth, right? All of a sudden, you all this good looking whatever, but there had to be what? Some tearing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It had to go through some destructive, forceful realignment. I'm not going to have these massive muscles without something being what? Torn up, pushed, tested. The only way I knew that I could leg press 800 pounds at 40 years old, that was the last time I did it. The only way I was able to do that, I knew I could leg press 800 plus pounds at 40 years old, was when I was pushed.
Yeah.
I could do heavyweight. I start off at like about 300 pounds. I haven't been in the gym in a long time, but I could still start off at about 330, 340, 350. There are people in this life right now, they hear that. That's like, good Lord, that's light work.
Hey, you can have it.
Right. But
I'm not here to do a humble brag.
No.
That's light work.
But that's not a humble brag. But the reason I can say it that way even now is because even through my journey, I've always kept a focus on making sure that what? My legs are strong. In every little thing I do, I make sure that my legs are strong. Why? Because other things are a little weaker.
Yeah.
My back, I got about 2-3 spots that are worn down in my back. I got 3 minor tears in my shoulder. I got all kind of stuff going on now at 44 that I didn't have at 24. But somehow I could still, but wait, but because I have maintained certain things and certain focus, I can still do some stuff that I would have never thought I could still do, right? Because I still work and train those things that remain. Strengthen what remains. That's in the book too. You always strengthen what remains. I'm going to strengthen what remains. Some of this stuff is not going to be the same. It's just not. I'm not going to ever be what I was in high school. I'm not going to be, none of that. But I do have a responsibility to strengthen what does remain. If I'm a giver, I need to strengthen that. I may not be, some people say, well, I don't know how to memorize all that scripture and stuff like that. Cool. Your memorization ain't that great? Fine. But do you know how to work it when you know it? Do you know how to work that thing? Do you know how to be a giver? When you hear God loves a cheerful giver, do you know how to be that? Not just when you give your money on a Sunday, but when you see somebody in need and you're like, God, you've sent me to this spot to do it. You don't need a whole lot of fanfare. You just do it because you are in a position that you can do it. You see what I mean? People don't care about how much you're a part of a group. They care if you are really about what Jesus is about.
So how does the church, or maybe just the community, it doesn't necessarily have to be just the church, but how do we show up for folks when and talking about being enough, how do we show up for folks when they feel like what they have right now isn't enough?
And that's the balance piece. We balance that by saying what is actually true. Whatever you have is more than enough in the hands of God.
Yeah.
There is no miracle that Jesus ever did that started off with a mass abundance.
That's a word. Yep.
Just read your Bible. Mm-hmm. No miracle that Jesus ever performed began with mass abundance. When you're feeding thousands of people and everybody hungry, they came to hear, they came to be taught, but everybody been out there for hours, they hungry. And only one kid
had the foresight out of all these people.
One kid had the foresight to get a lunch from his mama and show up. And they said, is there it? And Jesus said, look among them. Is there anything out here? A kid's lunch, 2 fish, probably the size of sardines, somebody said. 5 barley loaves, probably the size of some biscuits or some muffins. And that, in the hands of Christ, fed 5,000 men plus women and children.
Everybody else that was it. Yeah.
So that's 15 to possibly 20,000 people. Wait for it. With baskets full afterwards. They started with 2 fish, 5 loaves, and then they had 12 baskets of overflow. The sign is when there's a need, it can get met. And then the overflow was able to go with them to the next place. It never said that they collected it to save it, but it did go with them wherever they went next. Which means there's the possibility that there was going to be someone else that would have a need. And guess what they would have? They would have what was necessary on hand. Ain't that something?
See, this isn't for y'all to eat. This is for y'all to carry. Well,
there's always going to be a question. Because for us to talk in that way means that we're not talking from a place of scarcity.
Right.
And when people bring up that phrase scarcity, that word scarcity, every time someone brings up that word, they think we're talking about just money and stuff like that. No, it's a mentality.
Right.
I serve a God that has everything. So why in the world would I not trust God to open up the windows, pour out a blessing, and then be able to distribute what God gives? But the problem is when you think you have to accumulate strictly for the purpose of accumulation, you stress out when you don't meet what is your own goal.
Your quota. Yeah.
Say that. Yeah.
Your quota.
You don't meet your quota, then you get scared. No. God, what do you want me to do? I'm not going to look at what's in my hand unless you tell me. I'm not going to start here. I'm starting here. The biggest blessing today, the biggest news blessing of the day is that we have been re-upped with another grant specific towards outreach. We received 3rd year in a row, another grant that will help us do what we've been doing.
Good.
Now, people will say, well, that's nice, but what happens when it runs out? Here's the beauty of it. It doesn't have to. God has been providing. And I can tell you how God provided. We saw a need come to us. It wasn't that we went out and did anything. And we've had the food pantry for a long time. We've had a lot of things for a long time. But the way that things were coming forward to us in the last 5 years, let's just call it what it is, in the COVID years, when everything shut down, all of a sudden, the first concern was, are people eating? Folk ain't going out. Some folk are shut in. Literally created a whole emergency squad, and then all of a sudden we were fixing meals for a long time and delivering them because we were concerned about who was actually getting a solid meal and all that kind of stuff. That turned into, when we opened up further, people were not having needs met because there are so many places in the city that, yes, services those that are homeless, that are dealing with different things, but they closed down early.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that the last meal that you get, the last hot meal you might get is lunchtime?
Right.
And not necessarily because those organizations wouldn't want to do it, but they saw that the only way they can manage this part and this part and this part is that they can only do so much.
Right.
And then here we come along talking about we just going to serve people solid meals, not just a lunch. I just found this out personally, that Saturdays in this city, you can't find nothing.
Oh.
Saturday. If you're homeless, if you're this, it's almost impossible to find anything. So on top of every day of the week where people may stop serving and doing stuff at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you get to the weekend.
You on your own, fam. Yeah.
And now you're putting folk that may not be on the street, but now folk that have been making decisions between paying certain bills and getting something to eat, and you putting them in food lines. Whole lot of people wanted to make America great again, and now they're in those lines.
Yeah.
And I'm not laughing at them. I'm not laughing at them because guess what? The way this nation was set up, all the way back in the beginning, it was a matter of time before people found out all the lies that have ever been told about this country has come to pass. Now you see it.
Yep.
When evil is done with you, I've said it and I'll say it again. When evil is done with you, it'll throw you away. It will throw you away. And there's a whole lot of people that have been thrown away because evil said, I used you
I was
up.
about to say, it'll ring you out first, though.
Oh, yeah. It's like there's no more use in this.
Mm-hmm.
And then here we are as the church among us. Some of us are still divided because we bought it, because some of these churches bought in more into the political side of things than being the church. And now you get the church catching a bad rap because of bad players that say they are church and they're not.
Mm.
Here, people can get whatever they can get. We will feed you. We will clothe you to the best of our ability. Not because I got to say it as the pastor, but because it is the
I was
truth.
about to say, I've seen it happen, yeah. So
My God. First and third Wednesdays now, I saw the people come in and go out, whole families. It wasn't heartbreak. It was like, God, I thank you that we have the capacity to even do what we do. It may not be like a 20,000 member church, but thank you that you trust us to do this.
Yeah.
And somebody might say, well, my dollar ain't enough, my this ain't enough, my that. No. If you can serve at the table, can you imagine serving somebody a plate with a smile, that'll bless somebody's life.
And not lording it over them that you're doing this for them.
Can you imagine how many people get in lines and they look at people that volunteer? And sometimes those volunteers, all they're doing is peering at them.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason that they're there is because they're trying to fulfill their, what is the word? Their piety quota.
Mm.
I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. But you're looking down upon them because you're on the other side.
Right.
Ain't that a mess? When it comes to the gift of enough, it's not just about what I give or what I can have. It is about letting people know that you are actually enough. That's been a hard lesson I've been trying to learn for the last 2 weeks, personally.
Yeah.
Being me is enough. No matter what anybody says, thinks, or anything else. And let me tell you how that blessing came to me. It was on Sunday. We had our friends from Korea here. I sat with one of them. And because, slight language barrier, but hey, I understood everything. Look, they talking about we don't speak great English. I don't care. Most of us don't speak great English.
I ain't taken an English class in 15 years.
Some of us still don't know how to conjugate anything, Right. And so, but I sat with this sister, and I did not expect this. And she shared with me because she took her thoughts, put it through ChatGPT, let it translate. And she said, and I need the church to hear this, and because we weren't quote unquote at 100%, not as I've seen in the past. She said, I always thought that, worship had to be this solemn, almost funeral-like experience. But being with y'all, I discovered that there could be real joy and excitement in worship. I was like, dang, you didn't get us on the right Sunday. If you saw us last Sunday, we might have scared you. Like the previous Sunday would have probably scared them. I mean, if where we were was, but then she said to me, she spoke to me and said, I hope one day to be a worship leader like you. And I thought about it. I was like, I ain't do much. Not this past Sunday.
Yeah.
I was on fumes and going through a whole bunch. All I did was tell a couple jokes and try my best to preach. That blessed my whole life. That me being just a black man in this spot could be a blessing to a South Korean woman who is being faithful to the ministry of pastoring. It means that everybody has enough. There is nothing about you that is incomplete in the hands of God. And we have to stop making people feel that way.
So, and maybe this is the wrong time to make this shift, but as we think about moving into the Advent season,
Yeah.
so to speak, how do we navigate that when there are so many folks out here feeling like now is the time of year where I got to prove so much to so many people, whether it's through how I host, how I give, how I spend, how do we help folks navigate that sort of this weird time of year where we all usually end up spending more money than we should. We all end up more burnt out than we need to be. How do we help people fully live into that? Like, look, if you don't spend $1, like that's enough. Like that's okay. Because your worth is not wrapped up in what you spend on anybody.
You remember when, and I always love when people bring up a different way of viewing certain things. So, we always tell the story of Jesus being born, but it's not always complete. We kind of leave out a few things.
Mm.
Number one, we know that they were supposed to go back to birthplace because of the census, because of taxation. It actually meant that they had to go back to home,
Mm-hmm.
to family.
This is where my people's from.
And so they couldn't find a place to stay because Mary was in a position of bringing shame to the family.
Don't bring that fast little girl over here. Yep. Not in this house.
There was no room. No, it wasn't just about room at an inn. There was no room because they did not want her in that condition under the same roof with that man. You ain't supposed to be pregnant. So they kept them out. And our debate would always be about, man, it's set up where Jesus just had to come this way. No. Think about it. A whole lot of people have been kicked out for a whole lot less and cast off when they are the family that we're supposed to embrace because they have the gift that's going to actually change the world.
Mm.
But she was cast off. Joseph was cast off. And Jesus was born on the backside of a crib, in a trough, in a feeding trough, and wrapped up in milk wraps because they said there was no room for them. What happens if all you give me is something from Five Below? Heck, what if it's just a Christmas card? In this season of my life, right now, what would be the biggest blessing to me? Yeah, I'm going through all kind of stuff like everybody else financially, this, that, and the other. But you know what I realize would be the biggest blessing to me right now? I've been mourning all year long. Well, wouldn't it be nice for somebody to just say, hey, just thinking about you? And didn't want to tell me how to work through my stuff, but no, I was just checking in on.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit here with you while you process however you need to process. Yeah.
And there are people that have been doing that. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I'm just saying, but I'm just using that as an example. What does it look like when you really know what people are in need of?
How do we help people actually say what they need? Because do we sometimes overdo it because there has been no conversation around what do you need?
Conversation is the result of community. Therefore, if we don't have community, conversation don't happen. Therefore, I don't know what you need because I have not stepped into being in community with you. If you and I don't talk until we get here, this looks a mess. Right?
Yeah.
It'll be a mess. If we don't talk until Wednesday
at 6:30.
At 6:30.
Yeah.
All this is wrong. You see what I mean? But we talk outside of here.
Yeah.
And we talk about stuff that has nothing to do with the podcast.
Absolutely.
Has nothing to do with church. Has nothing to do. We talk about all kind of stuff. If people knew half the stuff we talked about, they'd be amazed. We talk about, but that part is what? Community.
Absolutely.
And when you're in community, you feel safe enough to say, hey, man. But if I'm not in community, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to tell you about my needs because I don't trust you. Community builds trust. Community builds trust. And then there are a lot of people that always talk about their needs, but they refuse to be in community with anybody.
That's a word. Yep.
So how am I going to? So if I do come to you and you've been talking about all this, and I do come to you, are we not, because I met your need, are we now going to engage? Or are you just saying all this so you can find a pipeline to get what you think you need only on your terms?
And there's no, I want to be careful how I say this, but like, there's no back and forth. There's no, if it's just a transaction, but you're not actually, if the transaction's only one-sided,
Yeah.
then that's not a healthy economic system.
The Acts 2 scripture shows that community existed to the point where they made decisions based upon teachings and engagement of what to do within said community. They didn't wait for a meeting. They came together, they studied together, they learned together, they ate together, they conversed, and everyone among that key phrase, I love it. One of the few things I love actually in King James, and they had all things common to life.
Mm-hmm.
They had all things common to life, not to church, to life. So if I see that you are broke, busted, and disgusted, but you show up here and I got plenty and I keep on seeing you come and you have need and I have abundance and I do nothing, then we're not engaged.
Yeah.
But if I'm in community with you, I'm not going to wait for you to ask me if I can see it.
Right.
Go back to last week. What did Fadi say? If I see it,
And don't do anything.
and don't
about
do
it.
anything,
Yeah.
there's something wrong, not with you, with me.
Yep.
If I can see it, right? If I can see it and do something about it, I don't need a vote to do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make sure that if I see that you're hungry and I done make, come on, man. Y'all had the gumbo on Sunday. If I made a
we
big
did.
old pot of gumbo and you hungry as all get out, and I still got this whole big pot, and I'm just like, man, you just look like you haven't eaten anything in a long time. And I'm standing there with the ladle in one hand and the top in the other hand, right? And the bowls are in front of me. And I'm just standing like this saying, man, you just look so hungry, man. I'm sorry that you've been going through all this for the last week. What kind of nonsense? I'm gaslighting you doing this. Like, man, I would, man, shoot. What?
Sure
because
is yummy.
Wait. Nah, here it is. The scene from Bernie Mac's show. When he comes back to Chicago, brother comes up to to his car. He's like, Bernie, he's like, hey, you Bernie Mac. Hey, man, how you doing? Like, man, it's hard out here, man. I can see that, man. Man, it's so hard out here, man. I almost forgot what food tastes like. Man, let me tell you something. It still tastes the same. And he drives off. That's what people do. That's what people do. And they think that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when I am in community with you, I am not going to sit with a full pot and you got an empty bowl and I can hear your stomach and not put something in the bowl. That don't make sense. That's the part. We have gotten so far away from basic common sense.
Yeah, there's rules as to how well I can help you, or,
Right.
or what it means to be able to help you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go
Well,
ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm re-listening to a book that I've referenced many times here, The Anti-Greed Gospel by Malcolm Foley.
Okay.
and something that he talks about is if you're in community with someone, why would you want something that your neighbor also is unable to possess? So, like, if I got it, why would I not want you to also have it?
Because that would mean that it's not unique. That would mean then that the value of it goes down because anybody can have it. You see what I mean?
That sounds like a capitalistic mindset.
Ah, wait. Ah, yes. Wait, ah, yes, Broham. I have now amassed all this stuff and I have no room to put it. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to tear down my barns. And I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to build bigger ones and store it up.
Yep.
So it would be cool. Guess what? If Jesus would have said that the man said, I'm going to tear down the barn and move away the restrictions, like you talked about, I'm going to clear this area so that people will have access. Oh, that would have been a beautiful end to it. And guess what? We would have had that beautiful end that the brothers would have shared everything and all that stuff. It would have been wonderful. But every time we see Jesus, he always addresses the elephant in the room. You want a piece of the inheritance. He wants to keep it from you. The truth of the matter is, no matter what, the stuff don't last.
Yeah.
So how you deal with this is how you deal with it. It is not amassing the wealth. It is how you deal with it that makes the difference. It's not the fact if I had millions of dollars. It's not about amassing the wealth. It is about how I deal with it.
I juxtapose this story in my brain to the Joseph narrative where they know that the famine is coming. And I think it would have been very easy to say, Pharaoh, so that your family does not starve, make sure you collect enough food during this famine years. But instead it's, we need to make sure we collect enough so that we can all eat. Because this society does not function if folks are just out here starving and dying in the streets.
And people, and I'm glad you brought that story up. You know what the best part of that story is? Not only did Egypt thrive, 7 years of abundance. 7 years of abundance, they save. When the famine came, they were not only prepared for their own, they were prepared for everybody in the region.
Yeah.
People had to come to Egypt, and Egypt was prepared for all that came. Because everybody got fed in Egypt, but guess what else? Everybody outside of Egypt got fed. So it's not the amassing, it is how do I use what I say God has given me? There you go. How do I use what I say God has given me to be a blessing to somebody else? That's the part. That's the part that ultimately comes out here. I want everybody to get all that they can, but my God, how then do you use what you've been given? I saw you go to the mic. Go ahead.
One thing that, one thing I hate is when it's a requirement. Like, for instance, along with the rules and everything is what evil is required. And that means you have certain things you have to meet before you could give the item to a person. So,
You mean like, say more. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
like, for instance, in order to get a thing, you have to meet these things.
Like, you got to have your license. You got to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if a person is starving, having a license doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
They want the food. That's about it.
Yeah, we've bureaucratized being generous.
And unfortunately, let me be balanced.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, because of how certain entities have been created
Yep.
and how they are supported, there's always a thing about numbers, data, all that kind of stuff. So hear me when I say this. If you're dealing with it from that perspective, because of how things are set up, you got all that bureaucratic stuff. But here's the but. But if you always lean into everybody else doing a thing when you or I could do a thing. You see,
Right. Yeah.
one person, 1-to-1 is interesting. Can I get about a 30-second preach in here?
Please do.
The Bible talks about one can chase 1,000 and two can put 10,000 to flight. Do you know what that means? That in math, that is exponential, which means that however I am able to impact,
Mhm.
when two of us impact, it's what? Magnified. It's
To an extent that it should not really be able to,
right.
realistically. Yeah.
Right. So what happens then if one chases 1,000 theoretically and two put 10,000 to flight theoretically? That would mean that the more of us that decide to address an issue, the more the issue will be addressed.
Which is why not the church, but the community has to stand in a gap when we know that we cannot trust certain entities to show up for us.
Yes.
We have to then collectively say, we don't accept this as the reality of the situation. And we have to now work together to change that.
The things that exist, the things that exist, free lunch programs, all that kind of stuff. Again, do your history, learn again. It began Black Panther Party saying we're going to address the needs of these kids. We ain't waiting on nobody else. And that thing grew and grew and grew. And why did it get co-opted? Why did it get co-opted? Why? Because the folk that should be doing something didn't want to do it until they saw that it was working without them. They snatched it and they turned it in. And what did they turn it into? The thing that currently folk don't want to pay out.
Correct. They demonized the people who were doing it and then took it over for themselves so that they could decide when and if it actually happens.
And here we are in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
But again, when you get other people to think about these things and they don't know their history, then they don't understand that the power of we is real. Because we have been so separated because we think unless you have this, that, or the other, you are not effective, ... Yeah, man, I got friends that are pastoring major churches doing major stuff and they are committed. But the reason I celebrate them is because I know who they are at their core. That is not something that was outside of anything. They've been doing it. And so they were going to continue to do it because now they have means to do it. And because they have means to do it, other people that have means put their means together and say, go forth and do what needs to be done. And guess what? As long as we're doing what we need to do, guess what ends up happening? When people see it, they say, let us attach ourselves to this because we know that if we're supporting this, it's going to come back this way and this way and this way. But again, people are not thinking collectively because they think if you do collective stuff, that means all of a sudden you are this, and this.
Right.
No, the truth is you are realizing that collecting and pulling together as one is more powerful than putting power in the hands of one.
Amen. Yep.
You see what happens when you put power in the hands of one. But when you collectively pull people together, you show the one that they're not as powerful as the we.
Even Jesus had to work with other people. He said, "You roll the stone away, you fill the pots. You know, like I can do the miracles, but y'all can do some of this other stuff."
He had the 12,
Yeah.
and he had the 70, all that stuff. It's always going to be a group.
So, like, one thing we as people deal with, like when it comes to helping people, we all have our own traumas. You know that, right?
Right.
But it's when we start to only look at the anomaly.
Yeah.
Like you talk about when we like SNAP, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, what about people that use their money to do other stuff? That's not everybody.
Right.
But we always look at the one bad apple.
Yeah.
Bad apple ruins the whole batch.
Yeah.
That's really what the problem is, though. It's not that people don't want to do something. They saw one person misuse it, and it's like in the program.
Yeah.
Because that's all it takes. That's how we all operate.
But we only do that for marginalized people, because when bad billionaires,
oh yeah,
you know, or bad cops or bad, you know, whatever, we choose not to live into that mentality, because you're absolutely right. Like
we create a stereotype out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
I think I told y'all this before about the businessman downtown dressed in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask anybody for $1, and people are willing to give that person $1.
Mm.
Because you're like, oh, I just need to catch a cab down the street to get, whatever. So like, oh, here you go. Boom. He changes his outfit into a homeless man, and he's completely shunned and ignored.
Yeah.
But yet, which one do you think needs the $1, and which one doesn't need the $1, but because you feel like they're not going to misuse it?
You know, I get to determine that need. You don't get, So, yeah. Uh-huh.
So that means that the work that we need to do, that some of the work in this Advent season is change, and change takes time, but change the environment to say, no, let's get back to enough. Do you have enough?
Right.
You are enough. I have enough so that I can make sure you have enough.
Means collectively we will have.
And that's a good place to land. This is going to be it seems like whatever God has given me these days has tough elements to it, but it has real elements to it. Because we can't be the real church if we're not going to deal with the real stuff.
Right.
So thank y'all for bearing with us tonight. We talked a lot more than normal. A lot more than normal.
It's 8:00. What are we doing?
We didn't just do all the normal stuff. Say, hey, questions, comments. Thank everybody that quoted in the chat and says stuff in the chat. Thank y'all. Appreciate you. We're gonna get at this next week a little bit more, and hopefully we're gonna make some more headway. Amen. So may the Lord bless you and keep you all in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you, and we'll see you.
And before y'all go, online, just online,
Yeah,
go to the Claire online page. Y'all can download the notes.
absolutely.
For the next 8 episodes? Something like
Yes.
Nice.
This is a whole series, so get all the notes. It's marked it's pinned at the top of the page. Claire U.M.C. Online Church on Facebook. We'll see you.